Hello there. Hope you're doing well. Just having a cup of tea, actually, as it goes. Cup of tea. I just listened to The Ducking Stool, Ida Dunmore's brilliant name. The belated Dowie hypocrisy. It's brilliant. Oh, it's great to see another video from The Ducking Stool. But it's so chilling. Listening to Dowie Evans on the John Sweeney podcast again, and his manner, his affect, the way he talks. I've always felt this, that he's not just wrong, and not just arrogant, and not just somebody who's a bit full of himself. It goes way, way beyond that. I've always felt that instinctively from the very first time I heard him speak in 2023, and I was following all the interviews he did, and then just pretty much have listened to but I had to stop at some point because I found it so. It's kind of a sense of the uncanny listening to him, in the sense of being present or engaging with something that is so malignant, such a malignant, dark personality. And I can understand how people like that can fool others in his circle and in his so-called professional life. And he has fooled people. And when you look at the exchange he has in writing over a long period of time with Peter Elston in the emails, which again I thought of doing a video about it, but again it's just so malignant, and the kind of teasing, jousting, darkly playful vibe of him is so sinister, of Evans. It's so sinister. When Lucy Letby is exonerated, and then the focus goes back onto him and others, it's going to bring up all the other chapters of his past, all the other dark chapters that the Ducking Stool talks about here, or at least some of them in the video, and no doubt there are others, and that's all going to come back. That's all going to come back, and that will be the story. That's what I foresee. That will be the story. How was this person allowed to act as a quote-unquote expert for so long, and be given such credence and such power to destroy lives, to manipulate and destroy lives? It happens, doesn't it? He's not the first, and he won't be the last, unfortunately. Very grateful to Michelle Warden for the clarification and the correction with regard to these Welsh hospitals. I still have some outstanding questions, and I've asked about that. The principal one being this idea that in 2012 onwards, there's this proposed change, the idea that babies requiring long-term intensive care, there's this proposed change, and that's how it's couched in all the reporting, not just that BBC article, but lots of other ones as well, and speeches by the First Minister of Wales, in which there's a proposed change to send babies to Arrow Park. So then from that, I simply asked the question, well, what is it changing from? What is it changing from? And how, if it was always the case that there's effectively no level 3 provision in North Wales, then what is the substance of this change then? In other words, if prior to 2012 and 2013, 2014, and then 2015, where there is this restructuring, and then they as Michelle has told me, they reduce Maylor Hospital from a level 2 to a level 1. What are they proposing in the build-up to that? That it's a difference if there had been no extant level 3 care in Wales. Had all the babies, and there's an article I can link to that I'm asking Michelle about to see what she thinks about it. Is talking about 36, in this article from 2012, 36 babies on average a year requiring long-term intensive care. Are we to suppose that they all went to English hospitals then at that time, but it's being described that they want to institute a change so that some of them go to Opaque? So that suggests that there was a different situation before this proposed change is going to happen. And when I say they, I don't mean the writer of the article. I mean the Betsy Cadwallader Health Board is saying this is what we want to do. I could read a bit. No, I don't need to read it out. I'll put it as a link. But I've asked Michelle about that because I just don't understand. What I'm missing is, well, what I'm missing is, and maybe I'm just out of my depth with all this, but I just want to try to understand it. When babies in North Wales needed level 3 care, did they all go to England then? Or did some go to South Wales, to Cardiff or Swansea? Or what happened? Perhaps this idea of the 2+ level that Michelle talks about in terms of gland fluid, maybe that took care of some of those babies. What we still have from the FOIs is the idea that 5 babies needing level, well, according to the response anyway, and I don't know how much we can trust that then. A maximum of 5 babies was sent to the Countess of Chester from Wales. The question was needing level 3 care, so why was that happening? And then none to Opaque. I'm still unsure about what the situation was in Wales, and as Michelle brought up as well, Peter Alston had done this work on these up to 19 times. These North Wales hospitals had closed at different times throughout this indictment period, so perhaps that created some of the extra flow over to the Cheshire network and to the Countess of Cheshire. We still have this figure of this 20% increase of mums based in Wales, residing in Wales, I should say, in the indictment period, in comparison to the 2 13-month blocks before that. There's a 20% increase, so something's happening there. It's a really substantial increase, so that's still a thing. And we still have these, they say, up to 5 babies requiring level 3 care going to the Countess of Chester Hospital. From where? From apparently another level 2 in Wales. Or was it a level 2? I don't know. If if the Maylor Hospital was reduced to a level 1, is that why some of them went there and they were sending level? But then that wasn't the question I asked the FOI. So it's just very hard. I'm finding it hard to get my head round fully. In a way, that my outstanding query is I think it's sort of simple, is, well, if there's no level 3 care, if there's no formal level 3 care in North Wales, which is a very big geographical area apparently, so I've been told, and covers a lot of people and a lot of space, where did those babies go as a rule, where did they all go? Did they always just go to one of the North West England hospitals, the Cheshire and Merseyside network? Or did some go to South Wales? Maybe there's a way to find that out. But I've asked Michelle to see if she can help me understand it more, and maybe she'll talk about that in an interview that she does as well. Because, but back to but I'm really, really grateful for Michelle for helping with that, because the last thing I want to do is in this situation where there's so many wrong things have been said. I'm not saying intentionally. I'm not putting out intentionally information that is intentionally wrong. Obviously, I'm going by reports, and statements online from the media and other sources that you would think you could trust, but clearly we can't trust them. Can't trust them, or yeah, that's what it is. Just going back to this sense of the sinister and the uncanny, the darkness of Dewey Evans, and which obviously permeates and extends through the whole miscarriage of justice, the whole situation as a whole. What did I want to say? I wanted to say something that it gets to you, doesn't it? I mean, I think it really does. I want to say, there's been some people put out some amazing videos and work, and then they've wiped them, and everyone will have their personal reasons for doing that, and I'm not in any way criticizing that. What I'm saying is, and maybe it's a wrong presumption, but I'm thinking that it just gets too dark, and people were saying quite early on, there's almost like a spiritual element here, sort of sense of good and evil, and I'm sympathetic to that. And evil doesn't have to be obvious, and it's not about somebody in a room stroking a cat and having all these evil plans. It's the absence of doing what's right. It's the absence, and when the truth doesn't seem to matter at all, and you can just get away with what you can get away with, and maintain a lie as much as you can at all costs because you've got the power to. Or if you're an institution like the Cheshire Police, you just shut your ears and you just don't say anything, and you just carry on, and you just want to protect yourselves, and just at the other person's expense, at the expense of justice and truth. And the institutions aren't. I was thinking about it earlier, was it last night? Last night I went to a weird mental state, really, with it. It's dark. All of it is. Trying to understand it. It's just very, and I don't think it's, that feeling is about the subject matter or this awful situation for Lucy Letby and her family and friends, and the poor parents as well, and all of it. But I think it's not just that. I think there's a sense of something wider, something that we're losing the ability to ascertain what the truth is about so many things, and our trust is being reduced in so many aspects of modern life, in the institutions, the people that are purported to govern us and who they really are. And I won't go down the rabbit hole, but I've done that before. Then I usually delete the video because I think I'm just... But I think it's about something much wider in some ways as well. I'm trying to think of a simple way to say it for myself, really, is that, are we moving into a sort of world, society, culture where the truth doesn't matter at all? I know it matters to us. I'm not saying it doesn't matter to many people, but it's kind of creeping. It's a creeping sense where, well, will make the power, whomsoever the powers are, or who power is invested in, will simply say, well, yeah, you might be bleating on about the truth, but this is what's going to happen. Found guilty. And this is the chillingness of the, even like the troll element, or the element of where there's no real engagement. It's where they'll just say, oh, they're just found guilty. They were just found guilty. Yeah, the court found them guilty. Found Lucy Letby guilty. The jury said it. The Court of Appeals said it. Bye. That's it. That's it. End of story. End of. Who used to say end of? I can't remember who used to say end of. Was it crime scene to courtroom? End of. No, I can't remember. Somebody used to say that. That's it. There's so many just kind of weird characters that come out, and maybe I'm one of them, but it's just like listening to Ida Dunmore's Ducking Stores video, and you listen to Evans talking in that interview. He's in full control. He's enjoying himself. And you watch, you read the email, the extended email exchange with Peter Elston, and you see him enjoying himself. He's enjoying the power about somebody courting his opinion, and even the fact that he knows a certain amount of opprobrium and a criticism is coming at him. It's still attention. This concept of narcissistic supply. It's still supply. And he's enjoying it, and he's enjoying just giving a little bit, then pulling back, then teasing a bit with his emails. If you read them, it's on Peter Elston's website, the Mephitis website. I think that's all I wanted to say. I just went into some sort of weird circular, locked-in state about this, the watch and the 347, the 350, the 330, baby Kate. I just thought, well, there's got to be something. And then the notes, and is it a note? Is it from a note, that email? I'm going with that. And will it ever be able to be established whether Nurse Letby I can't remember the phrase now, came out, when there was a crash, the bit that the bit that the defence solicitors never got to see, that line, or the police, or did the police see that? I don't want to make accusations which are wrong, but I suspect the police saw that email. Well, what's the fairest thing to say? It wouldn't surprise me if they saw it and decided that that's not one we're going to send to the CPS. That's not one that the defence, when they come to be wanting their copies of everything, are going to get to see. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just didn't see it somehow, or it was kept from them. It's odd though that it was kept from them. It's like nitroglycerine, that email. It's explosive, isn't it, really? When it's first reported by Unheard, early part of last year, February I think, by Unheard. And it was supposed to have come out just by happenstance when they were getting information about another part of the inquiry to do with the not part of Hummingbird, essentially. I think that's right, isn't it? I can't remember what the other, they've given it another name, the operation, looking into the manager's responsibilities and whether, we heard they were arrested. We've not heard anything since about that. But then how long did they take to charge Lucy Letby from the first arrest? So it was 2 years, wasn't it? First arrest in 2018, and just over 2 years. I think it was charged in November, so a bit over 2 years in 2020. Another thing we've not heard anything about is the full file. Do you remember the full file that the Cheshire Police sent to the CPS? Exactly about what? I don't think we know. People have, myself included, I think people have supposed that full file is about the Yoxall stuff, the unplanned extubations in 2012 and 2015 at Liverpool Women's Hospital while Lucy Letby is there on a training programme. But is it? Another thing I can never let go is Evans's 25 or possibly two multiples of 25 cases that he never hears anything about with no explanation. There's these kind of themes that keep coming back. But just to go back on something earlier, it's very, very dark. It's something that it's very, very dark. There's an abyss at the centre of this. All injustices, miscarriages of justice are absolutely terrible, of course. There's something that's sort of totalizingly dark here, almost like it's somebody else mentioned this phrase, I can't remember who it was, in a comment. It's bigger than the sum of its parts. A word I've thought of from very early on is this sense of horror. There's a sense of horror of the accusations and then the convictions and then being able to push it through. I think that's where I was last night, personally, thinking about that retrial, baby K, and the kind of, the CPS can go, yeah, well, we got the door data wrong, but it don't matter, it's still going to work. Still going to work. Do we think they were rattled by that? I don't think they were. I thought they think, well, no, it's gonna. We'll just bring that case again as a retrial, and they wouldn't have done it unless they thought they were on safe ground. Even despite the door data, even despite the fact they could just move. Jayaram's story about his watch can go whistle, can just melt away as though it was never there. As though it was never there. Everything that he hung on to, well, just leave it and Goss with a bit of an old direction saying, well, you can consider that the other convictions, you can bear that in mind. And that's what they knew, and that's why somebody put in a comment, sorry, I can't always remember who said what, but why did they reveal it, the CPS, about the door data? Is it that it had been leaked and it was going to come out and their hand was forced? Maybe am I too cynical to think, or is one too cynical to think, are we too cynical to think that they did it because they're honest, out of the goodness of their heart? My first port of call is always that they were forced to do it. But why would they have been forced to do it? In other words, and maybe this is cynical, if they would have realised it and they thought nobody else would be able to work it out, or hadn't worked it out, they would have run with it again for the retrial and kept it to themselves. Because I don't believe that they're honest brokers, the police or the CPS or the Court of Appeal or the CCRC. I don't believe they're operating on human lines, essentially. Really. Anyway, I'm just probably nattering on now. Take care of yourselves. It's very It's very disturbing, all of it, and it's not over anytime soon. I mean, it's just I can't fathom what Lucy Letby has gone through, is going through. And I can't read these reports. So I scan, are there any new newspaper things every day? Because I'm not on Twitter or anything, and I just saw some things come up late, just the headlines talking about, what was one about Lucy Letby's birthday, and then there was one about her getting a job in the library, but just the headlines they use, the callousness of them, the kind of cheapness of them. It just feels like we're in such a degraded and degenerate, I don't know whether to call it a culture, but whatever this thing is that makes up this thing that we're supposed to be living within, it just feels so. It's not the only game in town, I know, of course there's other people doing marvellous things, but there's this growing and increasing darkness and nihilism and ugliness and aggression. And I don't want to fall into that. I don't want to be pulled into that energy or allow. I mean, we've all got the potentials, I think, but yeah, it's incredibly dark. But anyway, take care. Bye.